Hello and welcome to Carolina's Cottage. This is Johnny. Today I have 4 cottage-style trash to treasure makeovers. Three of the 4 pieces were in very bad shape. These pieces needed help, and my goal is to make a big change with a small budget. The 4th piece is from last week's video. I'm giving it a color change and a style change. The first piece is rustic and a bit outdated. After removing the tags and cleaning this, I'm going to remove the drawer pulls and I will apply a primer to help prevent bleed through from stains and oils. When this is dry, I will apply 2 coats of chalk paint. I'm using Farmhouse Linen from Paint Couture. I've selected a cottage-style rice paper to decoupage this with, and I'll mark the shape by making creases in the paper and then cutting it to fit. I needed to piece this together to fit, and it didn't match exactly, but I think the design is small enough to not be noticeable. I applied a coat of decoupage medium, then pieced the 2 pieces together as evenly as I could, and then applied more decoupage medium over the rice paper. And my sweet kitty bear came to check my work, so all is well. Nothing to see here, Mom. While the decoupage medium is drying, I'm painting the knobs to match. Once the paint was dry, I reattached the knobs, but I felt the darker pink was a little too bright, so I reapplied the trim color with a lighter shade of pink. For most of this piece, I used Paint Couture's French Rose, and for the final darker pink, I used just an acrylic craft paint that I had on hand. These pieces were a set, originally from Crate and Barrel, and I found them at Goodwill. They're only about 4 and 6 inches tall, or about 10 to 16 centimeters tall, and it's always nice to find small pieces like that, especially in a set. These can be challenging to paint, so I typically do the bottom half. I let that dry, then paint the top half. Since these are metal, I used primer to help the chalk paint adhere. Next, I gave all 3 2 coats of French Rose chalk paint. I made air-dry clay castings for these using a mold from Amazon. I use this mold a lot because I love cottage roses. I hadn't seen many other options I liked for roses, so I was happy to see that IOD introduced the Felicity mold just a few weeks ago. I've ordered that one and I'm looking forward to trying it, so I'll let you know what I think. I'm revisiting this piece. If you saw last week's video, you saw this go from dark and drab to more neutral colors. I wasn't completely happy with this look, so it's getting another makeover, this time with cottage-style colors and a transfer. I added air-dry clay castings made from Prima Redesign molds and the cottage roses were from the mold from Amazon. I will list all my supplies in the description below. I recommend using gloves to work with this clay because it really does stick to your fingers. Plus you'll be adding glue, and I always use cornstarch before putting the clay in the mold to help it release when I'm done. I'm not using the entire mold for this design because what I want is a larger bouquet, and so I'm stacking a lot of these castings to get that look. Once these castings were in place, I cleaned up any glue with a wet wipe and I painted the clay with chalk paint. Doing this while it's wet helps prevent cracking and lifting. After that dried, I did touch-up painting wherever it was needed. These transfers were fairly inexpensive on Amazon. They are from Prima Redesign. These transfers were shiny, so I used a flat top coat. This was a challenge. I really enjoyed the makeover on this last piece. It was in such poor condition that I'm surprised someone didn't put it in the trash. It was rubbish. Not only was it discolored and scratched, but it had been dropped. The base was dented and caused the piece to be slanted sitting up. Both handles had broken off. Structurally, it's an ugly duckling, but it has enough beautiful detailing to be a good option as shabby chic decor. I'm applying a coat of primer, and this will help the chalk paint stick. Next, I'm applying 2 coats of chalk paint. The base will be French rose and the trim will be farmhouse linen. These are both from Paint Couture. Next, I'm going to be adding some air-dry clay castings to help camouflage the damage on the base of this piece. I was able to use pliers and straighten most of the dent out on the bottom. It still has a little bit of damage that's probably not going to be visible once I put these castings on the bottom. And although the handles on each side are broken and uneven pieces of metal are remaining, I'm going to leave those as is. I can live with that. It's a little bit shabby. If I were going to sell this piece in my booth space, I would feel like I need to repair this. but there really was no easy way to do that. It's a double wall coffee urn, and there really were no visible screws or ways of removing these handles. I was struggling a bit with my clay being dry and breaking more than usual. That's probably because I'm nearing the end of the package and it probably has dried out. I should have spritzed it a little with water just to keep it a little bit more moist, and I probably wouldn't have had these problems with breakage. But again, glue and pressing it into place will help that. And then applying a coat of chalk paint will help reduce the cracking and lifting. And I did need to go back and do some touch-up painting after it dried because there always is a little bit of cracking. I'm adding one more thing to this video because it fits into the cottage style theme. I did not paint these vintage spoons, but someone did. These are chipped and peeling, and I want to restore and protect them. I'm touching up the scratches and the peeling paint and then applying a protective top coat. I purchased these in an estate sale about 8 years ago, and it is possible to find these and silver plates and platters online that have been hand painted by some very accomplished artists. I was fortunate that the chipping had not occurred where the design is painted. It's just mostly around the edges, and so it was fairly easy to do the touch-up. I don't think a primer was applied to these before the design was painted, and it looks like these were probably acrylic paints that were used. Chalk paint will typically stick to something or bond with something a little bit easier than acrylic will, especially with a metal. So I just wanted to be able to salvage these and save these before they got any worse. Let's look at our vignette with all the finished products there, but first I want to take you back to where we started. These were someone's trash. Now we can reuse these or sell these. We did these makeovers very inexpensively, and they were so rewarding. Check my description below for supplies and discount codes on some of the supplies. Thank you for watching today. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a blessed week, and I will see you in the next video.